So we get to the rental place, and the guy gives us the key, and we get in, and I realize, oh, it's a manual. Never driven a manual, and it's on the other side of the car. So it's on the right side. So Sam is like, no way, dude. Like, we got to try to get an automatic. And I knew right away. I was like, there's no way they have an automatic, because everyone in the United Kingdom drives manual. So we go in, and the guy's like, yeah, we got nothing for you. He's like, just take it. Like, you'll be fine. And so Sam, fortunately,
it's hard to hurt the transmission on a manual.
Right,
it's true.
Right. So the Sam fortunately had driven a manual before, so he picked it up pretty quick on the other side, and so we drive up to it's called Aberlour. It's this really tiny town, kind of nestled up in the Highlands, and it's right in the middle of basically like all of the distilleries that are there.
That's amazing.
So if I can,
was he?
Is this one of the distilleries?
Aberlour is also a distillery there, but this was the one that we went to here was called Craigaleckie. It was like a hotel, Craigaleckie Hotel.
Huh.
Let's see, where is Aberlour here? This is not it.
Was he studying along the way, like stopping to drink
Yes.
whiskey? And
Yeah. So this is Aberlour up here, and it's right by what they call the River Spey. And so we had
there's a whole region of the Spey. There's a Spey group of malt whiskeys.
huh?
It's the Spey. It's just called the Spey region, I think.
Right. Yes.
All derived from that water, I guess. That's interesting.
Yes. So this is where we went. We went up to the Craigaleckie Lodge.
Yeah.
That's where this photo was taken. So we had a couple drams, is what they call it. They dram of whiskey.
How fun.
And so that was the first night. We just kind of went to a couple different places. This was one of the hotel. There was a hotel in Aberlour, and this was the bar there. And there was a guy here who had actually, so he actually installs the hardware that fills all of the barrels for the distilleries.
Wow.
So we were telling him, hey, we're going to Glenfarclas tomorrow, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be there tomorrow, and I'm gonna be filling all the barrels there. We're like,
No
cool,
way.
maybe we'll see you there. And he started to like it. He took a liking to us, and he started buying us drinks and stuff like that. So it was a good time. And the bartender was super friendly, and then these guys were chiming in, and everybody's really, really nice.
Oh, that's funny.
So this is the Spey River right
Wow.
here.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
Thanks. Yeah, we really lucked out. In the morning, there was actually some sunshine. So this was the back of the Airbnb we were staying in, and there's just this walkway, and then to the left here, just further up, there's a bridge that you could cross and go on the other side of the river. So it was pretty cool. So here's Glenfarclas, and
Is that Sam?
This is Sam. Yeah.
Sam.
Wow, that architecture does not look Scottish.
That looks Chinese.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, it does. But this is actually really common here for some reason. This type
Interesting.
of structure. So this is what they used to determine. They told us they were closed for like 2 weeks because there wasn't any water coming in. So they actually use this to sort of determine how much water is coming in to use to actually distill.
Oh,
So that was kind of fascinating.
So when the river's low, they stop. That's interesting.
And they said that they don't actually lose any money really, because things are kind of a slow process anyway with its distilling, and it gives them
If
time
it
to,
takes
like,
10 years to bottle it, you got plenty of
Interesting.
wiggle room.
right, exactly. And they also clean all their equipment while they're not distilling.
Yeah.
So this was the malt mill. This is a picture of the mill here. So this isn't the standard mill. They actually couldn't find a standard mill. So this is way bigger than they ever actually need. And they've had this since, like, I don't know, the 60s or something like that, maybe even way before then. And this thing processes malt like crazy, and they
So
have
malt
specialized.
is just germinated barley or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
Right.
just the seeds of barley with a little sprout of stuff coming out of it.
Yep. That's right. And so that anytime this thing breaks down or something, they'll have like people come out and create like specialized custom parts to fix it.
It looks
So-
like
Yeah,
an
of course.
early Xerox machine.
And it does.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Malt mill.
So this device behind will actually shake and separate all of the malt with rocks. So a lot of times when they get malt, there'll be little pebbles that come in here. And so not this box, this box is just, she's, she gives it what they call a shuggle, which means a shake. And so they shake it up and then they can, determine, like what the grain, the malt looks like.
Mhm.
But there's rocks in here that have been separated from the malt, and the malt drops down through here. And then this was the mash tun. So inside there's, just a bunch of stuff
This is their recipe, isn't it?
fermenting. Yeah, this is where everything is fermented.
And is it heated or do they just let it
Yeah.
sit at, so it's heated to encourage the yeast to do its thing?
Exactly. Yep.
Does it smell good?
It definitely smelled like whiskey. It smells like you have the vapors of like moonshine almost. And the interesting thing about Scotch whiskey, and this is what Sam and I were talking about, and it's still a highly debated topic, but the type of water that you use will actually determine a lot of the smell and taste, the flavor of the whiskeys.
The water, interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of the water in this area, it's just like very mossy area, so you get a lot of that kind of mossy taste. That's still pretty highly debated, but yeah, inside you can see everything is fermenting in there. It's an even better photo in this is a different ton.
Any idea how many gallons that is?
Oh, I think it's like, I don't know, 50.
How many
gallons,
feet,
something like
how
that.
many feet deep is it?
It's at least 10 feet deep.
Oh, okay, so it's
Wow.
just a big damn water tank full
Yeah.
of fermenting whiskey.
Right.
Right.
So here's the stills.
Those
So
are pretty.
they'll actually fill one, and then I forget the there's a distinction between these two colors. One is for like the backwash or something like that. I don't exactly remember, but yeah, this is a really common type of shape that they use out here. So a lot of the distilleries all have very similar stills, whereas the ones in the US aren't really shaped like this. They're much different.
They
But-
were probably, the ones in the US are probably 100 years newer.
Yeah.
Some
But
of
these-
some of this technology is 500 years old and they
Jeez.
just adapted it with modern materials.
Right. And they used to heat it with fire.
Yeah,
Just with actual fire, and now it's electrical coils.
they can control the temperature. They can probably improve their yield better.
Right. And then this is where they like do all the alcohol measurements and things like that, and they can take a look at all the each different still that's here.
Yeah, look at the 6 little valves. That's interesting.
Yeah, and you can see there's a total of 6, and then this one was actually steaming up.
That's funny.
It was pretty interesting smell.
That
It
looks
looks
a
like
teapot.
there's a pressure release valve up on the top of that one. Yeah, see that little thing that looks like a chimney?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
In case, because if it blows up, that's that's a big problem.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and they have those windows too, so that they can tell if if all the fluid is bubbling up.
Oh,
Mhm.
cool.
They can change how much is in there. So let's see. So then this was the outside. Most of the buildings look like this. They're pretty old.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
They got these wooded.
There's nobody there.
Yeah, I mean, there was just a few people in the tour. And then here was all the barrels.
Yeah.
Was that guy there?
Which guy?
The guy that was
he wasn't.
pouring-
Your buddy from the bar.
He wasn't, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Did
Um,
somebody told me once that Scotch has to use old bourbon barrels? I don't know if that's true, but
That's true. Yes.
Is it really? That's wild. Okay.
And so this one is 1953.
Jeez.
And so there's not the thing with, alcohol is that it evaporates, right? So you get the angel share. And so there was only like, I don't know, 40 gallons in here or something like that.
Wow.
And so, maybe not 40 gallons, but I guess it's not full, obviously.
Yeah.
But it reduces to 40 proof, or maybe 40% alcohol, I think is what they said.
Yeah.
And so they'll probably mix it with this one over here, and they can only call it like I think they can only say that it's, whatever 2022 minus 1954 is.
So they have to go with the most recent year.
Right.
That
So
they
68.
blended with.
68. So this almost was a 70-year-old barrel,
Yeah.
but they can't actually. What she was saying is that they're going to try to sell it as a 70-year-old barrel next year, but if there's not enough, they'll mix it with this 1954, this 68-year-old.
And it'll be, well, 69 will be a hot selling number.
Yeah, right.
So this is Glenlivet.
Yeah, I think this probably just the different distilleries that have used this barrel.
Oh,
But this is Glenfarclas.
okay. So it's not. That's what I was wondering, because Glenlivet, Grandpa liked that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is always a fun fact about distilleries, is that they always send the whiskey down a line that is visible at all times, so that no one's stealing.
What?
Right.
That's great. So instead of burying it where it'd be safe, it's out here where
Right.
the elements can hit it.
Right. But it's because, so they had this thing called a copper dog, which is basically just, I'll show you here.
Thanks for recording this, Kelly. Judy and Dave will get a kick out of this explanation.
So this is a copper dog. It's an apparatus in which you basically have this, and you can put it inside your pants pocket, and then you can slip it down into the bunghole,
Mm-hmm.
and then get some of the better whiskey. Because what would happen is people were allowed to have, a little dram of some of the stuff that was being distilled, but it was never that old. So they would go into the nicer stuff, drop this in there, fill it up, pull it back up, and then they could just keep it, even in their pants if they wanted to.
Wow.
And then they could have a dram of the good stuff later.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
Well,
That's cool.
I think to be authentic, Sam needs to have one.
Yeah, he probably
That's
does.
a good point.
Just to prove that he's got a copper dog.
You're
Or
absolutely
what's
right.
it called? A copper dipping dog.
Copper dipping dog. Yeah, you know what? You're right. This is something that he would probably really like. So.
He just needs to have that when he's talking with his customers about Whiskey Sommelier. He needs to pull that out as a conversation.
It's just, well, he's just hanging off his belt.
Just a tickler. Yeah.
Right.
Kind of off his belt. That's
Nick,
my copper. That's my copper thief.
Yeah. Could you go back a couple? What is that? Is that a cabinet of samples?
Yeah.
That's a
amazing.
sample case. What's
This
the guy
whole-
from the Music Man? That's
Holy
Professor
cow.
Harold Hill's sample case.
This whole case costs 120,000 pounds.
Oh, geez.
So
So
a
that's
good-
$250,000 almost.
Holy
Right.
cow.
So this is full of the good stuff. And I guess I should have taken a photo. They did let us try some of the whiskey,
Wow.
Scotch, obviously. But I'm not a big fan of Scotch.
Do they call it Scotch over there,
Yeah,
or do they
right.
call it Scottish
They'll
whiskey?
call it whiskey too. Yeah, but traditionally, it's Scotch. So yeah, but so then we left Glenfarclas and we went and saw this castle right here. It was closed off. You couldn't actually tour it, but it was just nearby.
Wow.
I forget what the name of this castle was, but yeah, it's pretty. Oh
You
yeah,
throw rocks at the windows.
the Balvenie Castle. Yeah, yeah. So there's all sorts of really cool stuff around here. And then this was a little bar that we stopped by at, and so what's happening here is this guy right here on the right came in just out of nowhere, and he's like, "Oh, I have the same exact photo as what's up here. This is a train." He goes, "I have the same train photo," and he's like, out of nowhere, he just started talking away, and he's just started blabbing to these two, and the bartender kind of looked at me like, what's this guy doing? It was hilarious to see it. So we didn't stay there
Is
too
Sam
long.
in the picture there?
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Where-
is Sam right here.
That's his nose.
That's his nose. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we went back.
So what time of day was that?
This was roughly like, I don't know, 5 p.m.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that's like 9 a.m. now. Okay.
And then we went back to the Craigalackie Lodge, and there was an upstairs room where they had all of these bottles of whiskey. And
Wow.
yeah, Sam wanted
Sam
to try
could
to
try his. He could try his skill.
right, exactly. So I had
Wait, that one bottle, is that Drambuie or what's the other stuff?
this
The
one.
funny looking bottle, Cardew.
This one.
That's a bottle of Cardew.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what we had at Dad's house with the cigars.
There
When
you go.
I've got that bottle in my bottle garden.
Yeah.
We
Gotcha.
took Dad's Cardew bottle and finished it off. That picture of us with the cigars and the shot,
Right.
it was a shot of Cardew.
There you go.
Very
So
cool.
we've got that bottle in our bottle garden.
Cool.
Yeah, we tried the Dalwhinnie. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
Dalwhinnie.
Dalwhinnie.
Dalwhinnie?
Maybe it was this one. I forget what that is.
So because you were like Americans, was everybody buying you drinks and stuff?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. When
Yeah, you
Sam
look
showed
like
up
that guy.
on Sam's layover, well, so Sam took the train to Inverness, but it got delayed, and so during the delay, he stopped at a pub, and some dude was buying him drinks. But so this is at the Cooper Smiths.
Yeah, the guys that make the barrels.
Right. Yeah. So they have, behind them, behind this, like the front, they just have like pyramids of barrels.
Right.
And they said that they'll ship like 300 barrels a day.
Wow.
Wow.
Just insane. And they'll make that many a day.
Yeah.
And so just the distilleries use the barrels.
Right.
Like the distilleries aren't shipping barrels to bars.
No.
Right.
It's all to
Bottle it.
it's all to nearby distilleries, and I don't even think they export them out of the country. I think it goes all to Scotch distilleries.
Yeah.
Right.
That's quite a building.
Yeah. So this is the Rothesglen Castle. This is where Sam stayed during his examination period.
Wow.
And if you look up here, you can actually see a bagpipe player.
I
So
see
he's
him.
playing the bagpipe. Kinda cool. Exactly. So that was pretty cool. So
he stayed there and you stayed at the Airbnb?
That's right. So by this time I'd already practiced driving the manual.
Right.
And I figured out how to drive it. So I was doing okay, and I could get around.
Is that the car?
No, this isn't the car we took.
Okay.
Different one. So I actually drove out to a brewery. This is the Spey Valley Brewery, and I thought that they would have a tasting room, but they didn't, and they just had a variety of beers for sale. So I got a few beers. I even have one for Gus here that I'll give him. It's a milk stout, but some of it was pretty good. Some of it was actually aged in either a wine barrel or a whiskey barrel. So that was pretty interesting. So here's the peach Berliner.
Is that melted wax?
Yes. Yeah.
on the lid to keep it so it keeps it from leaking.
I think it's just for fancy appeal.
Yeah.
And then here's
Marketing.
Norwegian wood.
Oh, and there's a pink flamingo, a traditional Scottish bird.
Yeah, the Airbnb we had was pretty cool. The guy who owned it seemed like a pretty cool guy. Never met him, but yeah. So this is the middle of the, well, it's like 8 p.m. in Aberlour, and pretty much you could get from here to out of the little town, in 3 minutes in a car. So it's really small.
What time did the pubs close?
They close pretty early. I'd say
10?
around 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Glenlivet.
So the next day I got up and, I had to get the car back to Inverness. So I drove over to Glenlivet. I didn't do the tour, but I just wanted to take a look and see what it was.
Did you get me a bottle?
I didn't, but
good job.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a look because I know.
Wait, see, it says the original, is it Speyside?
Speyside.
Single malt?
Right.
Yeah.
So Speyside, there's a lot, all those Speyside
Right.
scotches are from the River Spey. So
right.
If you see the word Speyside, you'll know it's from there.
Right.
And they use that water?
So the interesting thing is Glenfarclas doesn't use the Speyside water. They actually had this, they have a spring that comes from a hill that they're located next to. And that's where you saw that water churning. That's where that water comes from, is there's this spring in the hill.
Okay.
So they're not even sure where exactly it originates from.
Bunch of
As long as there's no hikers,
there.
as long as there's no hikers upstream, they're safe.
The mobile park up there.
Probably.
That was my dad always said the reason Coors gave him a headache was there were too many backpackers upstream.
Right. It used to be pretty fresh, but
so if you've got a hidden spring with no people near it, then it's good spring water. So
right.
That is you've got some really nice looking pictures here.
Thanks.
Right. That's
just
impressive.
on an iPhone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was this was the indenture. So there's a whole history behind this where basically they started up Glenlivet, and then a lot of people locally didn't like the fact that Glenlivet was distilling, and they tried to shut him down. And then after one of the guys that owned Glenlivet, because it was passed down through the family, one of the guys, he was like, we're gonna make sure that everything's done legally. And so once they got everything sorted out, then other distillers followed suit and did everything legally. Because the way it was originally is that the Highlands were kind of like the Wild West. Like you could just kind of do whatever out there. And Glenlivet was one of the first to really establish themselves.
Wow.
And so you can't really see them, but those big stills that you saw at Glenfarclas, they're all right here.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, it's it kind of became like a cookie cutter thing. Because as I was driving back to Inverness, I saw a couple of other distilleries, and they all kind of had the same situation where they had these big still houses, and then the stills were kind of just shining through.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this is Inverness, I think. Is that right? Yep. Yeah. So I stayed at a hostel right downtown, and this is just sort of some of the architecture.
Wow.
And they have these bridges that you could take across, and then as you walk down along the river here, there's more bridges just like this.
Right.
So it was pretty cool.
They're all walking bridges.
Yep.
Wow. And so what's the river?
I don't remember the name of the river.
Well, that's not the Thames or whatever.
No, the Thames is in London.
Right.
Well, it's got to start somewhere.
They had berries
these
growing.
are berries.
Yeah, they just had berries growing in the park there. It's kind of cool. Just a nice little area to walk through.
This looks like parts of Boulder. with the
Yeah,
river
kinda.
going through
Yeah, kinda.
with the
This is Inverness Castle. Unfortunately, it was closed and they're doing repairs and it won't be done for like another 2 years. So I couldn't go in there, even though I stayed literally right across the street from it. So this is the view from my hostel room.
Nice photo.
So that's pretty cool.
So you're close to the river.
Real close. Yeah. So these are some people I met. So Sam and I were joking. We're like, we're going to the land of Scott, right? You know, so it's only imperative that we find someone named Scott. Well,
Yeah.
I saw this girl at one of the bars, and then I was walking past her on the street because everybody just kind of jumps from one bar to the next. And so she starts talking to me and she tells me her name. And then they go, this is Scott. And I'm like, no shit. I finally
That's
met
hilarious.
Scott. And they were just a riot. So we were
Who took that picture?
The bartender there.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's a card. Were they celebrating a birthday or something?
Yeah, it was actually her birthday.
Cool.
Yeah.
With Scott in Scotland.
Yeah,
And are you wearing a fanny pack?
that's right.
All
CSU.
right, you go. Those I had one of those in the 70s.
It looks like a wrestling championship belt, Jerry.
Or a rodeo belt, but it's a fanny pack.
These things are great for traveling.
Oh, you bet. Yeah,
So
you
nice.
can. Then you can be hands free. That's
Yeah.
great.
Right. Nothing in your pockets. It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we went out to a few more bars and then I said goodbye and good night. But yeah, these guys were playing some music. They were a hoot. So yeah. The next day I got up and I did a Loch Ness tour.
Oh, no way.
Oh,
Wow.
This is Loch Ness.
well, I'm really glad you're recording this now, Kelly. Loch Ness.
Yeah,
this is great.
It was wild because it's just placid. And I mean, you could see there was a duck, you know, just coming along and you could see the trail it's spread out across the entire width, which is a mile.
Amazing.
It was just wild.
Now, did you see the Loch Ness? There's like a motorhome park or something out there where people just live.
I didn't see that.
No way.
I didn't know that was there.
Yeah,
but
there's a
here's the
lot
boat.
of people
Here's the boat. Oh, sorry.
that believe the Loch Ness monster, and so
Right,
they just live there
That's funny.
to see Nellie or whatever her name is.
Nessie. Yeah. So here's the boat that's going to take us to the castle. Can't remember. It's called I can't remember right now. But yeah, so you wait in line and then get on the boat, and so this boat's taking us over here to the castle, which you can barely see.
Right.
It was a really nice morning, and they were saying that they were like, it's usually not this nice, but here's the
there's
castle right here.
Yeah.
Right.
The heck? Who would build it there?
Looks like a starter castle. It's like a
Exactly.
2-room castle.
Well, it was actually a lot bigger, but this castle has seen so many sieges that it was, it's just constantly in the hands of a different
Wow, how interesting.
clan.
Wow.
Well, is it an abbey now?
What does that mean?
Well, it's run by like a religious group with a bunch of monks and stuff in it, or not?
No. It's just a museum at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called the Urquhart. I don't know why I can't pronounce it. Urquhart Castle. Yeah.
All right. There was a lot of violence and fighting in Scotland. Plus, that's where the Vikings first hit northern England. So, and remember, the Hadrian's Wall was built because the Romans tried to fight the Scots and couldn't do it. So they built Hadrian's Wall and just isolated the Scots because they were an extremely warlike group, especially in the Highlands. So part of the story with the Scots is that the English actually settled the lowlands, but just left the Highlands alone because you couldn't beat those guys.
Right.
That was it. I love that panorama, Nick. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was just such a lucky day to be there.
Oh yeah.
yeah, this was like the top of the castle pretty much.
During the British Open, when they play in Scotland, Nick Faldo is famous for saying, in Scotland, when you come up for the British Open, they'll say, "Oh, too bad. Summer happened last Tuesday."
So what's this, like a
So the
ball
fact that
rolling
you've
cannon?
got actual
Yeah.
good weather is remarkable.
Yeah. So this is a trebuchet that they had. And these were
That's
big.
like a catapult or something?
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Right.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So this is just me going through the mall now.
Fat face.
Some of these names were a little suspect.
That's funny.
White stuff.
I don't know if they would fly in America.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Try that in Boulder.
So I went out and that night, this is the next night in Inverness, and wanted to see some local bands play. So these guys are playing, and
Fun.
And so this whole time Sam's up there and you're on your own.
yeah, right. Sam's at Rothes Glen Castle right now, taking his exam.
So what is a multi-day exam?
Yeah, it was 3 days.
Wow.
Wow, look at that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so there was a full moon that night, so that was cool. I'm just walking back to the hostel, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. The city's kind of like, there's a city center, and then external to that, it's pretty much just houses and
Right.
residential area.
That's
So this is
fun.
the next day. So now I've met up with Sam. We met up at God, what was that called? Oh, I can't remember.
Is this what you're driving?
Yeah, no. We
Oh,
now we went to a place called Aberdeen,
okay.
and we are staying at actually a hotel, and so we scored a deal where the hotel was included like a flight of whiskey at this place called the Grill, which actually had no grill, and then a game of golf, which we'll play the next day. But this is us just kind of walking around, and I thought these cars were pretty cool. But here's the Grill, which, yeah, they didn't actually serve any food.
That's hilarious.
But the guy gave us some, I think, 40-year-old whiskey scotch.
Wow.
Because Sam was, of course, singing his own praises, which, as he should.
So he had passed the exam at
Yeah.
that point.
So he passed the exam, and now he's a certified Scotch master, and the guy who works here was also really into Scotch, so they got to talking, and he was like, "Here, try this stuff." It was pretty good, but again, I'm not really much of a Scotch fan.
The Century Bar in Dayton looks a lot like that place.
Huh.
Okay.
Probably modeled after it.
A lot of nice old wood.
Okay, so this is the Grill.
Yeah, you're right. It does look like that. Yeah, so this was the Grill. So then we went out and just went to a couple different places. We met a guy at the Grill.
What's an Irish whiskey place doing in Scotland?
Right. So we met this guy at the Grill, and he was headed home supposedly, and he took us to a bunch of different places, and then we ended up at this Irish whiskey place, and we started talking all sorts of crazy shit, and he was just going off on conspiracy theories, and we were eventually like, "All right, we got to go, mister. It's time to leave."
That's funny.
So this is
whiskey would sort of open the door for those kind of discussions, I believe.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I think
Those
this light bulb says
special effect pictures.
So I wasn't sure.
That's hilarious.
Does it spell a word?
I think it says fuck.
All right, there you go. Fuck
I
lights.
thought that was kind of funny. I have no idea what that is, but and so this is us walking back to the hotel. I guess I just took a bunch of random photos, but the next day we went to play golf. I can remember.
On a Scottish course.
Wow.
Maybe I have it somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, so the funny story is we show up there, and the guy was like, we were told that you could rent clubs there, and we get there and we're like, "Oh, we were told you can rent clubs." And the kid working there was like, "No, nope, we don't rent clubs anymore." especially after COVID. And so, but he did us a solid, and he went and got the pros golf clubs and let us use those.
Wow.
So then we were off to play. And I mean, this was just the amazing thing about these courses is, one, there was no like loose balls anywhere. I mean, you don't see anything like that.
But Scotland, they're very frugal. They pick up their balls.
Right. So there's Sam teeing off.
These are great pictures, Nick.
Thanks. Yeah. So we played golf. I don't have much other than that for photos.
Did you have to walk the course? There were no golf carts?
Oh no, we took a golf cart.
Oh, they had a golf cart?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was awesome.
Who's this?
This is me.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Nice swing.
Thanks. Yeah. And so after playing golf, we went back to Edinburgh, and we stayed just outside the Royal Mile.
Okay.
So this is us walking though, and I thought this was funny because Sam had this for his travel gear, and he just had the worst time, steering this thing, and then the handle popped off, and it was just so ridiculous. So I had to record it because I thought it was just so funny. He thought he was slick initially with his packing stuff, but turns out it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So this was pretty funny.
It's a rough sidewalk. Yeah.
Well, he's got his little neck thing for the flight.
Right. Well,
there's background music.
And he's on a very uneven, rough sidewalk, and those wheels were made for American airport floors.
Right.
So is this the?
So now this is the King. So there's probably going to be some background music because Apple adds it, but I guess it'll add to the appeal. So there he is. There's the King right there.
King Charles.
He's waving to everybody.
Wow.
Cool.
So he was going from this place called Holyrood, which is just over here, and you can see this is called the Queen's Gallery.
Okay.
Right. And so this is where I think all the fancy stuff was taking place, and then he was on his way up to Parliament.
Yeah.
Just up the street. And so they had the entire street, all the streets blocked off on the Royal Mile.
Oh yeah.
So this is all blocked off here. I think this is actually the next, oh no, that's that evening. So then I think that's the Edinburgh Castle. I could be mistaken though. It might be something else, but just looked kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that you guys were there when the Queen died and got to see the new king. Right. These are once in a lifetime events, and you were there. So good for you.
Yeah. And this is Parliament here, which I've actually been in on a different trip. When I was in the Scouts, we came here and
no way.
We went in there. Yeah. Sounds cool. But yeah, there was just so many people. And so you could get somehow people were getting access to go in there and then shake King Charles's hand.
Wow.
That was interesting. So then I got up the next day. Sam had a really early flight, so he'd already left. So I got up and got some food, but that kind of concludes things there.
Right.
Well, that's still spectacular.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You not only did a trip to Scotland, you got to see the hoo-ha that happened when the Queen died and the new king took over, and Sam got his sommelier certificate.
Right. And you got to play golf in Scotland.
Right. With the pros clubs. I love it.
And it wasn't raining.
Right.
It didn't rain on us really at all, except when I was in Aberlour. Once Sam was there, it rained pretty much that whole night, but wasn't that bad.
Well,
the weather was spectacular.
Yeah.
That was a gift from the gods.
It really was. Just amazing.